All right, guys. So our next guest speaker is a guy named Lance Bachmann, and I've been following Lance for a long time now. And one of the things that I'm always very strict about is who I bring in here to help and bring value to you guys, making sure they're winning in all aspects of life. It's not just about the money, even though money's important, but winning as a father, winning as a husband, winning as a leader. And, I've seen just amazing things that this guy has done, not just for his own business, but for other businesses. And it literally, when I meet people in person, they have nothing but amazing things to say that's worked with him, both personally and professionally. So Lance Bachmann, for those, if you ever drove down I-95, you probably see 1,000 billboards that has Lance on it, or one of the companies that he's worked with. He was the founder of a company called One SEO. He exited that company, still has partial ownership in that, and then pretty much started, I believe it's called LB Capital, right, Lance, where you partner with a lot of home services business, help them scale and sell to private equity, which is what he's done. So as I followed him, I also noticed that, man, he really wins with his family. He's got kids. He's very involved. Spoke with him yesterday, and it was just a breath of fresh air for him to say, man, he's like, listen, if I'm not building my company, I'm with my family, man. And that's what the Harvest is about. Not only building your business, but building for your family, for your relationships, for your friends. And we're going to, just to prime your mind, guys, and Lance, I'm going to allow screen share, just to prep you guys for what you're going to know, just so you can be prepared with questions, man. We're going to learn about mindset, having a bigger vision for your company, what it's like to sell to private equity, when companies scale at a higher level. I'm going to ask what are some of the bottlenecks, but also it does start with mindset. In order for you to do big shit, you got to have the courage to think big. And there's also things that come with thinking big, whether it's your environment around you that stop you from thinking bigger, or limiting beliefs, or negative self-talk, or a history of your life that stops you from thinking bigger. And we're going to get into that too. So Lance, thank you so much, brother, for investing an hour of your time to be here with the Harvest community as they all start logging on, man. I'm very excited for you to come in here and share your journey. And, man, it's very cool to have you on here, especially after all the stuff that I've been seeing you accomplish and all the people that you were able to help, man. So welcome to the Harvest, brother, and thank you for coming here.
Well, thank you. Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it very much. I look forward to talking to everyone today, telling a little about my journey. I actually saw a good friend of mine, Fernando Torres, is on here. He used to work for me for years. How you doing, Fernando? I don't know if you can talk or not, but great.
Yeah, what's up, brother?
How you doing, brother?
Good to see your face, man.
Nice to see you too. So, I'm moving, everyone, so you know why my house is so empty. I'm actually in the process of moving this week, but so I'll introduce myself. I'm Lance Bachmann. I founded One SEO. I was one of the founders, actually. Fernando worked for me at yellowpages.com for probably about 4 or 5 years, Fernando. And then I left there, started One SEO. I've sold now 3 companies to private equity. Now I own LB Capital, my own firm, funded by myself. And I actually, can everybody hear me? So I want to kind of just tell you who I am real fast. I speak a lot, thought leader. I own multiple tech companies. I actually now own 9 businesses. We're going to do over $100 million this year, again, in top revenue. So not only have I sold multiple companies now to private equity, I still am going to do over $100 million this year. I'm the youngest vice president at AT&T ever, still full officer. And I'm going to talk today a lot about, my family, right? Because I love my family, right? My kids are everything to me. I have no problem saying that. People ask me, what changed my mindset? What made everything change? And truthfully, the youngest one you see right here, the oldest one, LJ, I'd love to give him credit, but it wasn't. It was the middle son when they told me he was different, and they told me he was sick and he was going to not be like everyone else. And really destroyed my life and went into a dark moment. And then everything just shifted from me. So people thought I had success being at AT&T, but I wasn't happy. And we're going to talk about the principles I use every day. So what I hope to give everyone here today is a 5-star education on business, just down to earth. I'm going to tell you my journey, who I am. I'm no different than everyone that's on this call, believe it or not. I'm the same exact person. I use 9 principles every single time. I'm actually going to make it 10 because we're going to talk about sales a little bit more and get really into that part of things also. And what I do also when I speak is not just the successes I've had. I made so many mistakes, man. I always say to people, man, if I could just tell you how many mistakes I've made and how many millions of dollars in mistakes I made, let me save you those headaches, because you'd be surprised how many people don't tell you the mistakes they made. And I really think that's a big part of success. So I always say this to everyone. You need to know why you started your business. You got to understand it, because, some people will say, well, it's simple. I did it for money. Well, that's not going to be enough, because it doesn't matter how, and take it from a guy now that has a lot of zeros in his accounts. And you never count the zeros. And people, when they say I count the zeros, no, they don't. There's no difference between having 9 zeros, 10 zeros, except for what people say about you, because you really can't spend the money unless you're frivolous, and you're still going to get up and go to work the next day. And you can see right here, Sean's right here with me right here. He's there. He'll tell you our day starts every day at 3:30, 4 o'clock, like clockwork. I already worked out. I already ate. I already popped off about 40 emails this morning. Sean and me were talking earlier, so people are going to say money. Well, no. Is it freedom? Do you want freedom to go coach your kids? I've never missed my kids. I coach everything. I've never missed a game. I don't have to. Now, if I miss a game, it's because I choose to miss a game to go somewhere where they need me in abundance. And I say it all the time. I'm never leaving my children if there's not abundance that I'm going to give, right? So it's just not going to happen, right? So pride, is it your pride? I can do the job better than the person I'm working for. Maybe you take pride in what you do. Passion, right? I say this all the time. If you're passionate about what you do, you're probably not going to make money, right? Because most people aren't passionate when they're younger about money. They're passionate about wrestling, football. Maybe they're passionate about cars. But if you can somehow translate your passion into business, then you'll make money. Is it survival? Necessity. A lot of people wind up being entrepreneurs out of necessity. They didn't get good grades. They didn't go to college. They struggled. They got fired. They went through multiple jobs. They had somewhat of success, but they never could get the success they wanted. So they go out on their own. So you better know your why, because when times get tough, you're going to need your why. Trust me on that. I always ask people this: who wants to double their revenue? But you need to know, are you on pace to double your revenue? Are you sinking? Are you treading water? Or are you growing? And I say this to people: there's only 3 things you can do in business, right? And in life. And I say this to my children all the time. You're either going out into the water and you're swimming, you're treading water, or you're drowning, right? So I'm going to swim every single day. I say it every day to my kids and work. What am I going to do today? I'm going to swim. I'm not treading water, because if I tread water, eventually I won't be able to swim and I will sink, right? Most people have to understand that. So in business, you got to know where you're going to be. Do you know what it takes to double your revenue? Do you know your KPIs? Do you understand how many leads you need to get an appointment? How many appointments you need to get it closed? Do you know what your average ticket is? Do you understand the metrics to get you there? If you don't understand those metrics, you're in trouble. Do you know how to grow? A lot of people say, and this is the worst thing you say, well, I'm just going to work harder. I'm like, whoa, no, that's not how you're going to grow. That's how you're going to, there's busy work, and then there's task achievement work. I say it all the time. There's busy work, and then there's task achievement work. You have to have goals and tasks that you're going to achieve and get down to double your business and grow your business, not busy work. So why should anyone take advice from me? Here's one of the companies that I bought probably not even 3 years ago, and I sold it in less than 24 months. As you can see, they were doing $2.78 million when I bought them my first year, and I bought them only in December of this year. November 21st, I bought them right here in 2020. And this company was around since 1955, so you understand. There was an HVAC company since 1955. I've never installed an HVAC. I've never sold an HVAC. I didn't know the difference between Train, Ream, Rudd, American Standard, any of those things when I got into this business. A good guy by the name of Michael Gulledge came to me and said, I want you to be my partner. I want to help you grow. I didn't really know him, but I was like, you know what? Joe Lynn, my CFO at the time, she's now my chief operating officer, was like, you're going to do this, Lance. He's always talked about going to home services. Let's go make a run at this. I took it from 2.78 to 7.5 to 12.8 last year. we're on pace. This is an old slide. We're on pace. We're gonna do about $24 million this year. And I sold this to a private equity firm last September. So Michael Goldridge is a multimillionaire, never has to work again in his lifetime by partnering with the right person to change his life. So, that's one company. I own a information technology, Shock IT, bought that 6 years ago. As you can see, this slide was the first quarter. We already did 2.2 million. We're on pace to do $10 million. We're growing by 32%. This is just one of the companies I own. I spend about 1 hour a month in this company, if that. I look at the P&L, go through it. My partner, Scott, runs the company. He's a great leader. I truly believe empower people and they'll find success. Scott has a company where he wants it. It's growing. It's profitable. This is where he wants to be. He doesn't want a $30-40 million organization. He has 2 kids. So I'm just showing you can grow even at 32% and still make a good living on a $10 million company. I just actually sold this company 3 weeks ago. Cherry Roofing. I owned it for less than 15 months, sold to a private equity firm for literally mid 8 figures. Josh Cherry never has to work again in his lifetime, but he's still working. He's still selling for the company. I'm still operating the company. I got to roll money up into the organization. You can see the first quarter of this year, and anyone that knows roofing at all, we're on pace right now to do about $18 million this year, my second year in roofing. I never sold a roof, never been on a roof. I've never even know what Master Elite was, but now I have relationships with every major vendor out there across the country, Owen Cornings, GAF, Beacon, ABC, where we have the best rebates out there. I own multiple roofing companies now. And we'll
That's
talk
one of the guys that I told you that I met actually in a sauna at Lifetime Fitness, Josh, who I've been connected with on social for a while, and he was singing Lance's praises. That's one of the guys I was talking about that were like, hey, man, he is what he says he is, and he really helped them.
Yeah, I mean, well, he never has to work again, Josh. I mean, but he loves sales, so he's still selling. We sold this company Sixers playoff game. What was that? 3 weeks ago we went to it. Whenever the Sixers were, when the Sixers lost in that series, I think we went to the first or second game was that Friday. So that's when we made settlement. But the difference between me and everyone else, most people would have took off this day and hung out. My whole entire team worked all day long, and I've not celebrated one company I've sold except for one SEO, and we'll talk about that and how it started. But what I want to talk to you about too is how did I get here? I wasn't born with a silver spoon. I was born in group homes, foster care systems, locked up, been in multiple fist fights, you name it. Like the trouble I was in as a child, most people would have me pegged to be in prison for the rest of my life, never have a chance to be successful. Everyone made me feel terrible. I was special ed. They called me the tart. I mean, I don't know if you can use that word anymore, but that's what they used to call me. I do have a little yellow. Sean saying I can't use that word, so I apologize if I offend anyone, but that's what they used to call me. The little yellow bus. I mean, when you think about this, I was on a yellow bus driving to school every single day. And, all my friends were on the big buses, and I was with kids that were in wheelchairs and helmets. Think about what that did to my self-esteem, right? And, I had an abusive parents. My mother was an alcoholic. My father was an alcoholic. My mom, I give her credit. She tried the best she could to come back and help. But literally, my childhood was so fucked up. They put a steel door on the bathroom and plywood on the bathroom doors and locked me and my brothers in there for weeks on at a time, sometimes a month at a time, and literally fed us under the door. We slept on the tub. We slept on the washer, dryer, floors. I mean, you talk about abuse. I mean, it was like something you would see from the movies. And, I say this to people not to impress you, but, I was down this weekend down the shore and I saw a guy at Seaport Pier and he goes, man, Lance, I got to tell you something, man. You did the impossible. I was telling my wife right now, you worked at Harbor Lights, you worked here, you worked there, you worked at Rock Lobster, 8th floor. I said, I worked every job. I had no ego. All I wanted to do was better my life. And I had grace at every part. But when you come from this type of lifestyle where you lived in a dumpster and a dumpster was my home, I literally lived in a fucking dumpster, and you really have such low self-esteem. You say, wait a minute, I got to do this. I got to change my mindset. And the best thing I'll say about me coming to Council Rock from Northeast Philly, where I grew up, if any of you guys are familiar with Council Rock, I'm going to put it to a Cherry Hill type area, very wealthy money, very good money. I did not fit in, and I have some great friends still there, Seth Dunn. Like, I can't say a bad thing about the school, but I did not fit in because of my mindset, because it's a very money neighborhood. And you have low self-esteem when you don't have money. When you see kids wearing the new shoes and they have everything, and it just didn't work for me. But then one day when I was about 20 years old, I got out of jail for a fist fight. I had nowhere to go. My sister brought me in, and I'm helping her with her 2 children. And, I looked at life a little differently, and I just changed my mindset of all the money I saw. And I said, what would it, and it was hell. And I say, you got to walk through the fire of change. And I still make mistakes. I mean, I still make mistakes. People say, what do you mean still? I said, I'm not perfect, man. I make so many mistakes. I try to be a great father. I try to be a great husband. I try to be a great leader, but life's real, man. Like, don't let people fool you. When people act like they're holier than God, they're full of shit. But you have to change your mindset to every day I'm going to win. Every day I'm going to be obsessed. And I tell people this all the time. I think Fernando will vouch for you. I'm obsessed with winning, not money. There's a difference. My one son is very much like me. He's obsessed with winning. And I don't know if it's a good trade or bad trade, but when I changed my mindset to I'm going to win and I'm going to make money and I deserve it. It was my worth. I started saying it. I used to be so embarrassed of my childhood of being abused and beaten and fucked up life that I had. And now I'm like, wait a minute, man, that wasn't my fault. I was just a kid, man. I was 6 years old being tied and beaten like a dog and nobody came to help me, right? Like literally beaten and put in the hospital. I lost a fist fight in Pennypack Park and my dad cracked the vacuum over my head. I was in a hospital bed, and you look at these things and you think you're the problem and you have such bad, so low esteem. And then all of a sudden you realize they were the problem and I'm a really, really good person and I deserve a good life. And that's what you can't change the mistakes you made. You can't change what you did. I can't change anything except for what I'm going to do today. And you have to change your mindset. And really, we're going to talk about when you change your mindset, you apply this to business and you're going to see your whole life change. You got to have visions and goals, advertise, use systems, leadership, know your KPIs, communication, surround yourself with like-minded people. We're going to talk a lot about that today. Create processes, and you got to hold people accountable. So example, for One SEO, I started April 19, 14 years ago. My goal was just to master my craft and be the best digital marketer in the country. Within 5 years, I was the best digital marketer in the country. I was speaking at every single conference. I had respect, this and that. I was making good money, but I wasn't making great money. Then we said, okay, let's go from 10 to 20 employees, right? Today, there's over 100 and some employees there. I sold to a private equity firm. CJ's the CEO. Their vision is, hey, 300 plus employees, over 100 million top line, right? Where they're about probably half of that now, a little bit less than that. And they're already a Google and Facebook premier partner. I tell you this all the time, goals and visions are going to change in life. So it's a constant moving target. And you got to make sure if your goals and visions aren't changing, you're fucked. I hate to use that word, like you're fucked. Like, because if you're not hitting your goals at some point, your goals are way, way too big because you got to start with small, realistic goals and then keep changing and changing them. And your vision, everyone always wants to say, I want to be a billionaire. Well, why don't you start with being a millionaire first, then go to a multi-millionaire, then a billionaire, right? Let's take small steps, because how do you go from 0 to a billionaire, right? 1 out of 300 million, 400 million do that. Let's talk about realistic. I go from 0 to a millionaire to a multi-millionaire, then a billionaire, right? So your vision goals have to change constantly. The one thing I'm going to say to every entrepreneur, get out of your own way. Your fear is going to stop your growth. And this is why I talk about fear all the time, right? Is the fear is what other people think of you, right? And I think it is a balancing act, right? Because I don't care what people think of me if I don't want to care. So it makes a difference. If my CFO says to me, hey, Lance, this bothered me, I care. Hey, if Tommy Mello says to me, hey, Lance, this bothered me, or Tom Howard or whoever, but if someone I don't know and I don't have a relationship, I really don't care. I mean, if you want to go to the circus, go to fucking Facebook and Instagram. That is the biggest circus you'll ever see out there. Look, me and Sean were talking yesterday about the trolls and the inboxes and the DMs and messages. And like no one ever, they just comment. And so instead of making their own life better, they want to go there. So your fear comes from what other people think a lot of time. Drown out the noise and keep growing. Don't listen to other people. Just keep going. Leadership. People say they're leaders and they want to lead, but it's convenient for them to lead when they want to lead. You know what I mean? No, you have to lead 24/7. I tell people this, my best ability is my availability, right? I'm 24/7 as a leader. Unless I'm with my kids coaching, I'm pretty much available. And my wife knows that. And people will say, well, you should have a balancing act. And I say this, well, the balancing act is this. All these people depend on me. They rely on me. My wife knows what she married. You know, she has to understand with this comes a big responsibility for me to do the right thing. Now, I'm not saying you can't take a date or two a month for your wife and you, but if you think you're going to sit home from 6 to 10 o'clock every night as a leader to people and not talk to them, you're probably dead wrong. It's just not going to happen, right? And your company's probably not moving fast enough, and you're not doing the right things. I tell people this all the time. My day starts at 3, 4 o'clock every single morning, 4:30 the latest. I work all straight through the day. I work out in the morning. I come home, I coach my kids, and I'm back at it, you know, talking to people. You need your people, and they're going to make mistakes, and you're going to make mistakes as a leader. Don't act like you're not going to. Let them know that you're going to make mistakes, and when you do, apologize. It's okay. I say this to people, you know, tough people last, tough times don't, you know, and, you know, people have to be tougher. You know, during COVID, I lost 50% of my revenue in 1 week at one SEO, 50%. And I'm going to tell you something, you know, everybody was at my house or in my backyard, and everybody was here, Jolene, my leadership team. And it was the first time my wife ever asked me, my whole 13 years of my wife worships me, and I'm very fortunate. God, I'm a very lucky man. My wife has given me the autonomy to build what I want to build. So my wife looks to me in a very different way than most women look at their husbands, in my opinion. And my wife, for the first time, ever walked into the office and she was crying. I said, what's wrong? She goes, are you going to be okay? She goes, I know we're going to be okay. She goes, I'll live in a townhouse with you and my family. I love you, but are you going to be okay? And I took a deep breath, and my wife, you know, I haven't had a perfect marriage. I don't say it to anyone. I made my mistakes in the beginning, right? I'm a flawed man, but when my wife came in and walked in that room and asked me that, it fucking hit me like a ton of bricks. And I walked outside my backyard, and everybody was in my house and scrambling, and we're down 50% of revenue. This is a multi-million-dollar company, 100+ employees, right? No one laid off still at this time. And I just started laughing. And it was like a movie scene. And it was like a highway of me being in the orphanage, group home, me getting the shit kicked out of me, me getting jumped, me being locked up, me living in a, like, you named it. And I just started laughing hysterical. And I looked at this multi-million-dollar house, and I looked at this $100,000+ watch in my hand, and I started laughing hysterical. I walked in, I put everyone together. I said, guys, we're going to be fine. I was like, this is nothing. Let's put a plan together in place, and we're going to just execute on it, and we're going to go. We literally started in the den, started blasting social media content. We doubled our company that year. Not just including the 50% loss we took, we doubled the total revenue. All because I changed my mindset laughing in my backyard because my wife just hit me like a ton of bricks. I mean, so you got to understand, you really got to ask yourself, is it a tough time? And is this going to pass? Or are you going to break? Right? How tough are you going to be? Because if you're going to be in business, you better be tough. I say this to everyone, you know, part of being a leader is 10% what you do, 90% how you react. I used to always react the wrong way. I think Fernando could attest to that. I think a lot of other people could attest to that. Now I just sit there. I was actually meeting with my CFO yesterday, and the bankers were in there, and he started regurgitating something. I just, you know, gave him a little nudge. And he asked, I said, listen, man, I said, sometimes less is best. You don't need to let them know how smart you are. Let them talk and just listen, and then just sit there. So, you know, you really want to make sure you're reacting the right way because people are watching. We're going to talk about this. My whole life changed when I started surrounding myself with the right people, you know, and I would tell you all to do this. Go and ask everyone to come see their business. Go and ask everyone to see what they do. I started changing my circle, and not in a bad way. I love the guys I grew up with. You know, Devin asked me a question. How often do you hang out with the guys you grew up with? I'm like, really never. And it doesn't mean I don't love them. I think the world of Danny Trigoni, Sam Seitlin, Timmy Spears, Seth Dunn, all these guys, I just don't have time, right? And when I do get to see them, it's the best experience in the world. I enjoy myself with them because they're great guys. And everybody has to be like, oh man, well, you just don't like, no, Victor Atlas is one of my best friends. I love him. I just don't get to see him because I don't have time. I have young kids and I'm in a business. And the thing is, it's hard to hang out with non-business people because you're not having these critical thinking moments, right? Because I made so many millions of dollars in mistakes. And now my learning curve is so much faster because when I'm hanging out with these other people, we're talking about where do we advertise? Where do we hire? When do we invest? What do deals look like? How do I deal with banks? How do I deal with, credit card companies? All these different things. So, and you're constantly going to see their shops and you're going to their shops and they're coming to yours and best practices. But if you're not hanging out with like-minded people, I'm going to tell you this right now. If you're going to the gym and talking about the Eagles game and what you're doing this weekend, you're fucked. I hate to tell you that, you're fucked. I mean, you should be going to the gym with people that are talking about growing their business, learning things, coaching people, how to make things better. All I do is surround myself with people that want to talk business. And I surround myself with my kids, my kids' sports parents, right? Because they're two like-minded situations, right? I talk about business and then I talk about my kids and about sports. Outside of that, I don't want to be sitting in a bar talking about what I did 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. It does me no good. I want to talk about what we're building and how we're doing it. So I would surround yourself, and your network is going to be your net worth. I said that to Devin last night. Take your 5 closest friends that you hang out with, write their income up on a board, and truly do this. And then divide it by 5. Your income is going to be within inside of 10 to 20% of that. I guarantee you. Change your friends if you want to see your income grow. And that's not terrible. It doesn't mean your friends are bad people. It just means you have to level up to let go of what you have to get what you want. Let go of what you have to grab what you want. Advertise. This is amazing to me. So many people put time and energy into all this shit, but they don't advertise. And I see some of these P&Ls and they have 2% advertising, 3% advertising. Your advertising revenue should be 10 to 20% of your total revenue budget that you want to hit. It's simple. It's that simple. And people want to argue with me. I'm like, do what you want. It seems like every company I buy and grows very fast. And what's the first thing I do? I address the advertising partner. What are we doing? Now, I don't own one SEO anymore, so I have nothing to sell you. What makes me such a terrible, terrible person to speak anymore, when I speak everywhere, I have nothing to sell. The odds of me doing your roof are going to be slim. The odds of me doing your HVAC system is going to be slim. The odds of me doing your painting is going to be slim. The odds of me doing your service Titan consulting is going to be probably really, really slim. And the odds of me doing your IT is going to be slim, right? Because unless you're local to this Philadelphia market, DMA, and now we're buying another company in Nashville right now, you're not going to be my customer, right? So I don't care, I don't care if you use, I think One SEO is the best agency in the country still by far. I think there's not even a second to it, but I think you have other agencies out there. You got to advertise with someone. Digital marketing, people ask me all the time, what would you do first if you're in a company? Obviously, go where your consumers are. Google first, Facebook second, Instagram third, and then you go from there. If you're B2B, you have to get LinkedIn in there, right? LinkedIn is going to help you drastically, but even LinkedIn will not outdo Google. Google is the end all be all. And you have to understand that. So, advertise and make sure you advertise. If you have a local brand, I'd make sure I have some billboards up because billboards are going to be very effective to build your popularity among your own network. And that's going to spiral and say, yo, do you know that guy that you heard Devin introduced me? Hey, Lance, the guy on the billboards, tons of billboards. I kept them up for years. You'll see a Cherry billboard. You'll see a Pups billboard. You'll see Dilling's billboard. You'll see Munn's billboards. These are all companies I own. And you got to build a sense of community in your community. Use your data. You have to use your data. And this is one of the biggest things people don't do. They don't take their customer list from QuickBooks or their email database and put it in the back of their Google AdWords and Facebook. And you can actually target them and actually build out similar audiences also. So I can do 2 things here. I can stay in front of my existing customers and make sure I'm hitting them and they're happy and they're sending me referrals, right? And they're coming back using me again. Then I can go say, okay, we dealt with 2,000, 3,000 customers or 500 customers like this. Now I want to go hit people that are similar. Well, Google, Facebook, and Instagram, they know how to actually say, what are the most things that these profiles have in common and serve your ads to people just like them. You're going to see a very high ROI on this and make sure that you're doing it. Know your KPIs. Listen, I can't make this any clearer. when I talk to people, right? And if they say to me, I say to them all the time, how many sales calls do you need to make a sales call? And people say I close at 90%, 100%. I start laughing. I'm like, you're not enough sales calls then. You're just not, right? It's just not realistic. Because if you take a look and you track, I want to know this. These are the KPIs that matter most to me, right? I look, how many times does my phone ring a day for each one of my companies? How many jobs are booked? How many leads actually get booked to us sending a tech out there, a salesperson out there, right? Then I say, okay, what is the close rate of each one of these individuals? Then what is their average ticket, right? And does that give me enough revenue to get me net 20% to where my overhead is among my whole entire company, what I'm doing? And if it doesn't, I got to adjust. And then how do I keep scaling? Remember this, people lie, numbers don't lie. Numbers will never lie, people lie all the time. And what do I mean by that? Just ask somebody what they made last year, and you'd be surprised the shit that comes out of people's mouth, but then ask them to see their W-2, and they won't show it to you. Well, why? It's just a fucking number on the, you just told me what you made. Why can't I see your W-2? Why can't I see your taxes? Let's so ask somebody what they grossed last year, what they net income last year. Where do you hear the shit they spew out of their mouth, but they won't show you their P&L, right? So just remember that as you're talking to people, know if you know your numbers. Know if you know your numbers. Correct. Ego, Tim. 100% on that. Know your numbers. And here's a good story of where I learned my numbers. I bought Shock IT 5-6 years ago. They had 3 employees. We had 0 KPIs in place. The first year, Scott came under our umbrella. I really didn't ride with him, didn't talk to him, didn't really. But after about 9 months going into it, I saw our revenue really didn't grow that much, and we still had 3 employees. And I said, Scott, man, something's wrong here. I said, I'm going to ride with you. We got tons of leads coming in. I'm going to ride with you for the next 6 months, every single day. We're going to see what's going on there. I literally said, okay, jump in the car. Our first sales appointment, Scott walks in and goes, hey, tell me what the problem is. I'm Scott Fakasny. And I was like, what? Immediately, the guy jumps in and starts telling Scott. I said, guys, both of you, stop. I said, where are you from? To the guy. He goes, I'm from Bucks County. I said, where? He goes, Doylestown. I said, I live in Ivyland. He goes, oh, you do? I said, yeah, we played for the Yankees at the time. He goes, my son plays for the Yankees. My daughter played for the Yankees. I said, you know Bobby Andrews? Yeah. Half hour later, we're talking about soccer, right? Then we get into the problem, okay? Then we close the deal on the spot. He signs right on the spot, right? So then I said, Scott, number one, you got to build relationships. Number two, that's why we're not selling anything. We're going to track every single call. Me and you go on every single lead. Our close rate was about 70-some% at that time for the next few months. Scott's close rate's actually higher than mine now because we track every single thing that comes in. You have to know your KPIs because how do you coach people to get better? If you have salespeople and they just say, I'm struggling, I'm not doing well. Well, what if they killed it for the last 3 months and they're just really having a down and out month? Because, right, salespeople go up and down a lot, right? There's not a lot of consistent salespeople out there. If they are, they're called a unicorn, correct? So you got to know KPIs because that's how you're going to really move your business. What's your gross margin? What's your set overhead? What's your book rate, average sales? These are things that you have to go. Intelligence, I always say it's called business intelligence for a reason. Because if you can understand business intelligence and you become intelligent, your business is going to flourish very fast. Great processes. You have to give people processes. We took Pup's painting, Matt Rathgab's painting in less than 2 years to we're actually going to do about 6.5 million. Went from 1 million last year to about 4.5 last year. We're going to do about 6.5 this year, 7. All by just putting processes in place. You got, first of all, your customers deserve processes. Your employees deserve processes. If you can't give them processes, why should they do business with you? You want think about this. When you go to Apple and you get a phone, you go through a process. You check in. Someone walks up to you. They go through everything with you. They bring it out to you. They open it up. There's processes to everything. If you want to scale, you have to have processes in place. You owe it to everyone around you, but they don't deserve to be your customer or an employee to help you build your business. Systems. I don't care what system you use, Salesforce, House Call Pro, Service Titan, Thrive. When I see people putting stuff into Excel sheets and Google Sheets, I'm like, guys, for what it costs you for a CRM to have this put in, you're going to save yourself a ton of money. On top of that, Your customers deserve to have a CRM. When somebody calls into your business and it's Mrs. I want you to think about this, your customer employee. Mrs. Jones calls in and says, hey, listen, this is Mrs. Jones at 122116 Rainier Road in Northeast Philadelphia. And they say, oh, Mrs. Jones, I saw we were out there. Ed was out there. He was out there 2 times. He serviced your HVAC unit. It was a great experience. How can I help you? And she goes, that's awesome. I'm glad you remember me. I'm actually now calling about plumbing. Well, now she knows you know her. You remember everything. Or take this other example. Mrs. Jones, I had to go look you up, see what happened. And can I give you a call back later on today? Now your employee's frustrated. Your customer's frustrated. And they have no belief in your systems. I mean, you got to have systems in place to scale. Invest in your systems, it will pay you back tenfold.
Case in point, Lance, just went to BMW to get my car serviced. Lady clicked on my thing, literally told me every time I've been there, they knew my car inside and out. And it just didn't go unrecognized. You're like, man, that's why I get my cars here. Because they literally told me everything about my journey with working with them. So that's another case in point right there, just to validate it.
Absolutely. I say, if you can communicate as someone that runs a business, you're going to thrive. Sales and communication, I consider the same exact thing, right? If you think, when I hear someone say they're not a salesperson, I start laughing. I'm like, you got your wife or husband to sleep with you. No offense, look at you. It's a big feat. You got literally learn how to make money. You sold your parents on not getting you in trouble. You sold your whole entire life. I said this the other day in a meeting. Everyone's trying to identify in some fucking way in this world, right? Identifies this. If you just identify as a salesperson, it makes life really easy for you because everyone's trying to identify and sell their agenda, right? So if you just say, know what? I'm going to be a salesperson. I know what I am. I'm going to sell my product because I'm going to deliver a pledge, give great customer experience, give a great product, and I'm going to make sure I show up for my clients. That's something I get behind and sell every single day. So what's wrong with that, right? And once you know that and you accept that, you're going to be great. Now you have to take it to the next level. You have to be able to communicate to every employee, everyone around you, what I expect of them, what's getting done, what's not getting done, and what is your vision. If you can do these things, you're going to see yourself grow drastically. Right? Someone just said every time I call Amex, thank you for being there. Yeah, absolutely. It's a great opening. You need to have communication skills. When someone says, oh, I don't like talking, run from them. When someone says, I don't like people, run from them. How are these qualities that are going to help you grow your business? Oh, well, it's just different. My wife, when I first met her, was very, very shy, but she's a pleasant, lovely woman. My wife hugs people she just meets. It's just who she is, right? But my wife's not jumping up on stage like me and going to speak. And that's okay. I'm not saying you have to be that level of a communicator, but if you want to have success, you're going to have to be, right? You have to punch through the ceiling. You got to become very comfortable being uncomfortable if you want to have true success, right? But my wife, on the other hand, is a great communicator because she makes people feel great. She makes people feel good. She makes them feel accepted into our home. Everyone she meets in business, right? And that's where, if you don't have a partner that's taking this journey with you and also becoming a great communicator with you, you're going to struggle. There's going to be a balancing act. If you have people on your leadership team that don't think they have to be great communicators and great salespeople, you're going to struggle as an organization because you're not in alignment with your vision, right? You got to be able to communicate, and everyone around you has to. I say this all the time. It needs to be done. They do it or they don't do it. It's on you. If you don't communicate the right way, things won't get done. If you communicate the right way, they will get done. And if they don't get done, if you're communicating the right way, the people got to go. Hire people you can trust. Never stop training your employees, or somebody else will. And the biggest thing I say to everyone about training and communication is train your replacement. Like, I have no ego. I show everyone everything. People are in my shops all day long, in my offices, and I show everything. There's such an abundance of business out there. No one is your competition. They're only your friends that help you thrive and strive to get better. I'm friends with all the players in my arena because I don't look at them as competition. There's such an abundance of business. And if you give abundance, you're going to get abundance back. I truly believe that. You don't have to lose for me to win. I don't have to lose for you to win. We can both win. There's so many damn lazy people out there and so many people out there not doing the right things. If you're doing the right things, you're just going to grow. So make sure you're training and hiring people and making sure your employees are taken care of. Accountability, it starts with you. The biggest thing is this: if you lie to yourself, right, about I'm going to lose weight, I'm going to send you an email, I'm going to do this. If you lie about all these things, why should they trust you? I say to business owners all the time, you lie to yourself every day about what you're going to eat. You lie to yourself about getting up and work out every day. You lie to yourself about coming into the office early. You lie to yourself about responding to emails. Why would anyone else believe you if you're lying to yourself? Like, why? If you lie to yourself, why would I believe you? I know you're fucking lying to yourself. I see it. People say to me, man, how do you get up early in the morning? It's easy. I want to. I have discipline. On the days I don't want to, I still get up. I don't want to get out of bed every fucking day at 3:30, 4 o'clock. Last night I was in bed at 8:30. I was so exhausted because I got up at 2:45 the day before. Had a ton of things to get done. I coached my kids' game. I came home. It was 8:30. I kissed all my kids goodnight. I told them I loved them. I went and watched Return of the Jedi in bed and fell asleep at 9:15. But I was up this morning at 3. Boom, ready to go. Because that's what you have to do. It starts with you. If you can't hold yourself accountable and be self-aware of who you are, like, there's nothing you could say to me I haven't said to myself 1,000,000 times to hurt me, right? So I'm so self-aware of who I am. You have to be self-aware and hold yourself, and then you're just going to see yourself grow and grow. But if you don't hold yourself accountable and the people around you, how do you grow? This is one of my favorite subjects. I've sold now in 3 different verticals. I got my 4th company under LOI right now. I want you to think about that. I was in group home foster care systems. I lived in a dumpster. You name it to me, I've been through it. Most people never sell one company to private equity in their lifetime. I'm now going to sell my fourth in 4 different verticals. And 3 of them are the 4. I never even sold the product, installed the product, delivered the product, or pledged. But you need to know this about your business. Why are you doing it? Are you going to pass it to a family member? I don't like that. I want my kids to be the best version of themselves. My goal is to make my children the best version of themselves, not the best version of the mini me. And I say that all the time. Like, why do I want my kids to be a version of me? I love myself. That's great. But if my kid wants to be a violinist, let him be a violinist. If my kid, my dreams are different than my kids' dreams. Ride it to the wheels fall off. I see so many people do this. And then their business is worthless. I got a roofing company right now, been around for 60 years. They do $3.5 million. The guy's 65 years old. He's trying to sell it. Who's buying that business? No one. No one's buying that business. It's been on the market for 18 months. So that's gone. You pass away, which happens a lot, or you sell it. I love the importance of selling a business. If you don't know how to sell a business, partner with someone that does right away. I'll tell you that, because it's a very different process. But selling a business and taking some of that powder and taking that life-changing money for your family, there's nothing wrong with that, because then you can go start another business and keep it going. I would definitely talk to private equity firms, every one of you people, and understand the process of that and where your business. Go get a true business evaluation. You're going to be shocked how little your company's worth if the right things aren't there. People be like, oh, my company's worth this. My company's worth this. It's not. You're going to be shocked. So just make sure, yes.
When was that when did that light bulb, that was a question I had. When did that light bulb go off in your mind? Not many people, business owners that I ever speak to, what's the vision for your company? Rarely do you hear them even bring up selling to a private equity company. And it's not because they don't want to, it's because they don't even think to do that. Right? When did that light bulb go off to where it's like, private equity, this is a game here?
I changed my network. I started hanging out with other people, and they were selling the private equity. And I was at a conference, and I met a guy. It's a true story. Probably about 2 years ago, I met a guy by the name of Travis Riggy. He said, I just sold my company for $30-some million. I said, well, my company's the same size as your company. I showed him my P&L. He goes, yeah, you'll get about $30-some million. I called my partner up, Michael. I said, yo, Michael, if I could get this amount of money, would you want to sell? He goes, fuck yeah, I'm out, man. I literally had it sold inside of 60, 90 days from there. And then I just started saying, I'm going to sell every company to private equity, because they want these organizations. If you build them correctly, They want them, but most people don't build them correctly. But thank God for me, Devin, full transparency, I was hanging out with people and learning how to build these companies correctly by people that knew what they were doing. I always say this to someone: why would you take law advice from a shitty lawyer, right? I always say this to people: the fastest way to become a multimillionaire is listen to a multimillionaire. The fastest way not to become a multimillionaire, listen to someone that's not a multimillionaire, right? You go to a doctor, you have cancer, you want the best expert in cancer doctor out there. Well, now you want to be a multimillionaire. The only people you should be listening to is multimillionaires, not the guy or your wife at the kitchen table drinking from a coffee mug. Here's a true story. I was buying this company called USA Roof Masters, and I'm not putting this guy on blast, but he said, my wife thinks I should quit. And this guy is a smart guy, and I want to keep him. He's like, my wife thinks I'm worth more, this and that. And I said, you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to be a multimillionaire. Risk and reward both start with R for a reason. I call them the double R's. I said, your wife, I'm sure, is successful. Well, she is. I said, but is your wife a multimillionaire, self-made? Absolutely not, my wife. But she makes 6 figures and she's happy, and she's been on the leadership team where she's at. It's different. She's on a leadership team for a national chain, right? That's been around. You're an entrepreneur. You got to change your mindset to risk versus reward. The quickest way to be a multimillionaire is to listen to a multimillionaire. I showed him my account that has 10 zeros in it for my children's fund. Literally 10 zeros. I said, here you go. Here you go. 8 zeros. I'm sorry. 8 zeros. I apologize. It's 8. It has 8 zeros in it, my children's fund, right? And I said, here you go. Okay. And he looked at it. He goes, okay. I said, now does your wife have this? He goes, no. I said, the fastest way to be a multimillionaire, listen to a multimillionaire. The fastest way not to be is not being disrespectful to your wife. Call his wife up, said, I'm going with Lance. It's been great ever since. Guy's making more money he's ever made in his lifetime. Probably sells his company in the next 9 months to a year. So that's what you have to understand. You really got to understand that, Devin, is, if it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. Everyone's trying to sprint to get there. I've been doing this for 30 years, grinding. Fernando will attest this. Some of you that don't know me, Fernando will know me for the last 20 years. He'll tell you, I've been going to the office, first one in the office, the last one to leave. I've worked like this my whole life because I knew that no one was going to give me anything. I knew the only way to pull myself out of the fucking gutter is to outwork everyone. And then once I got into the room, I started educating myself more and more. And I have no ego. I listen to the people that are successful. I don't try and have an ego contest. Whoa, look at me. I'm bigger than you. I don't care. I just want to learn. I just want to get myself better. So, fight like a lion, be a king. I say this all the time, people won't fight for what they believe in. And you have to fight for what you believe in. You have to fight for what you want. Be happy, make it slow and steady. And I have this tattooed on my arm, and I hope you guys can see it. And I'll leave you with this. You can ask any questions you want after this. Choose your path. Don't let anyone else choose it for you. Choose your path. If you have a wife that doesn't support you, leave your wife. I'm not being disrespectful. You got a husband that doesn't support you, leave your husband, because you got to do what you feel is true. You got one life to live. And I say, and here's a true story about this. LB Capital just started 90 days ago, less than 90 days ago. We're going over 10 companies. We're going to do over $100 million top line this year. It started 90 days ago. I want you to think about that revenue. I was in the Bahamas with my wife. We sold one SEO on February 17th, President Day weekend. Me and my wife go to the Bahamas the following week. We're supposed to have a 6-day vacation, 7-day vacation together. We're going to celebrate. I've not really been away with my wife. I go with my kids everywhere. So me and my wife was like, we're going to go away to the Bahamas. It was day number 3. My wife sees I'm getting squirrely. She sees I'm getting squirrely. Day number 4, we're sitting by the pool. And my wife goes, what's wrong? So you're not happy. I said, I love you, Emily. I love you I worship you. I worked my whole life to get here to never have to work again. I get it. Like, we could do this for the rest of our lives. Vacation. I don't have to work. Everything's paid off. Tons of money. I said, I can't do this. She goes, I know you can't. I said, I'm going to go home. I'm going to start buying companies, roofing, power washing, HVAC. I'm going to change the roofing, power washing industry and painting industry and make it respectable, make the vendors respect people, the partners. I said, it's my mission. I see it clear as day. My wife pulled out her phones, hand to God, and booked us 2 tickets home that night and cut our vacation short. That's the type of person you need by your side. She gave me a kiss. She said, go do what you have to do. And my wife, who wouldn't want to stay at Baha Mar for an extra 2-3 days. Right. But she literally gave up her own selfishness for me because she knew that's the journey I had to go on. You need to choose your path, people. And I'm more than welcome to answer any questions you have. And Devin, thank you so much for having me.
Man, I'll tell you what, everything that has to do with business and life was just ran through in a powerful PowerPoint, man. So, you know, guys, this is probably going to be one of those calls where you re-listen, you go on the YouTube, you go in the Harvest Vault and you re-listen to it to write some more notes down. But there wasn't anything in life and business that was not covered on this presentation. So I hope you guys didn't miss any of this stuff. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to raise your hand or unmute. You just let me know. A lot of times people get shy and they don't ask questions, and I have a laundry list of questions. I know we only have a certain few more minutes. But does anybody have anything right out the gate that maybe your subconscious is telling you to answer? Remember, there's no stupid questions. If you're not where you want to be right now, well, this is a person that can help you break free. So is there anything specifically that you guys have that you wanted to ask? Go once, go in twice. James Butts, what's up, brother? Hop on here.
What's up? How you doing? Thank you very much. One thing stuck out to me that you said when you were talking about yourself as a person, and you're not a perfect person, and you had some troubles early on in your marriage, and you did some things, and I'm in that boat the same way. How did you your relationship with your wife to become that partner? Because I know, at least for me personally, it's not like a magic event that happens. It's not like I can just talk and get it through. So what were some of the things that you did that strengthened the relationship that now brought it to the level that it is now, where she can be the power partner that she is?
Listen, I'll be very transparent. I told everyone that knows me, listen, I sat my wife down and told her, listen, I cheated on you multiple times. I was with multiple women. I'm sorry. I wasn't the best man. You were the mother of my kids. I made mistakes, and, you know, I'm going to do everything I can to never cheat on you again, love you, worship you. And every day I remember that pledge, and literally my wife, but I don't go out without my wife though now. I'll be very transparent. And that's not because of my wife. My wife trusts me. I travel all the time without my wife. And people will say to me, dude, you go to bed at 8, 9 o'clock. Yeah, because you don't want to see me out at 11, 12 o'clock at night, because I'm going to be that fun, charismatic guy that thinks he's 23 again. And I don't want that. It's not worth it to me, you know, and hey, I'm not that great, you know, to be with anyway. So why, you know, my wife loves me. I might as well stick with her. Right. I mean, you got to think about it realistically. Just be honest with your wife and say, these are the cards, man. Like, I messed up. Like, do you want to go on this journey with me? I'm going to do the best I can. And it is what it is. And some people might not, she might say no. And that's okay if she decides that. And then some women are going to say yes. And my wife said yes. I never looked back. I mean, my wife's my best friend. I have no problem. People say, come out. If you ain't bringing your wife or husband out with you, we're not going out. And listen, I've had friends say to me, it's all guys trip, all guys out, and I bail out. Well, why do I have to have an all guys trip? The fuck am I doing? Why do I have to have an all guys dinner? What the fuck am I doing? What could I possibly say not in front of my wife when I just told you point blank I cheated on my wife and she knows it in front of a bunch of strangers? You think that makes her feel good? But you got to be honest with people, because you take those cards off the table and just tell your wife the truth. Don't tell her who it was with, because that's a whole nother can of ass whooping for you. But you just say, this is the deal. This is what it is. And she has to accept it. And the same thing if a woman were to cheat on a husband. You can't go back in time. You can only go forward. But she gives you a second chance. Hold on to that second chance for dear life, brother. I'll tell you that.
Good stuff, man. We're getting deep up in this joint. So one thing you kind of talked about it, but I just want everybody to know the importance of this, especially when you have a company and you're thinking of selling. Like I've heard, I was speaking with one solar company, I don't know, maybe a few months ago, and they were saying how, like, man, they needed an in-house digital marketing company that brought in predictable sales in order for somebody to buy them, to make them, you know, more valuable. So how important is like having that marketing machine implement it into your business when it comes to the resale of a company?
If you don't have leads, I mean, when companies buy an organization, they're looking for a few things, right? And I'll give you the playbook what companies look for. How many Google reviews do you have? How many Facebook reviews do you have? Do you have a CRM in place? Do you have systems in place? Do you have marketing in place that is going to feed the salespeople?
Yeah.
If you don't have those things in, private equity does not come in and say, I want to go build a business. They want to come in and run a business and help grow it. There's a difference. I'm a builder. I enjoy taking small organizations, grabbing them and growing them and building, right? I'm a builder by trade. That's it. I mean, I'm not a handy person, but I say it all the time. Like, I enjoy the building process. Yellowpages.com was a startup. My whole life has been startups for the most part. Now I don't look for startups. I look for companies that are right above the startup mark. Private equity, they want companies that are already past the startup mark, that have been around, systems, processes, advertising. So if you don't have that advertising machine where leads are coming in, your salespeople are dead in the water. And people can't sell what they're not in front of.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the old, well, like I've always built this company word of mouth. And when it comes to getting that exit worth tens of millions of dollars, well, those private equity firms ain't banking on word of mouth, I'm assuming, right? They're going
They don't want any business owner that is the main salesperson. That's an automatic deal killer. And they don't want anything that's word of mouth. What does word of mouth mean?
Yeah.
You can only be so big. Show me a $20 million company that's all word of mouth.
That's
Show me
exactly right. Exactly right. Tim, and I sent you this video, Tim Jennings, you were talking about that podcast. What was that lady's name that literally, and Lance, you're in the right space, because even Andy Frisella talks about how this day and age, there was all the old timers who have these companies and they're getting ready to retire. And how did they build it? The old school word of mouth. I just been in business for 30 years. Right before them, everybody was getting pushed to go to college. So there really wasn't a lot of tradespeople building any companies. And now there's this generation. So this girl, what's her name again? Cody Sanchez. Cody Sanchez. She now goes and exactly what you're doing in these businesses that are the word, she goes and rebuilds them a little bit and then sells exactly what you're doing. But man, you just hear it so much. Like, think about it. Next time you talk to a business owner that's over 50 years old, right? How do you do it? Most times it's the old word of mouth. It's like, man, you better change that shit if you're trying to exit to fund your family's dreams the rest of your life. Like, that is just that statement right there, if you're on this call, should make you reevaluate how your business is. Like,
that was gonna be my question.
If you're the number one salesperson, change that immediately. If you're the salesperson, change that immediately. You do not have a company if you're the salesperson.
Yeah. You're an employee. What do they say, right? You're pretty much an employee.
That's all you are. I mean, that sounds hard, the truth to know, but the first thing I would do if I was somebody here, I'd go buy, well, you're not going to sell like me. Of course you're not going to sell like you, but it's your job to train them to sell close to you. It's your job to have multiple people sell close to you. I don't sell for any of my companies. Think about that. I own my 10th company next Monday. I'm not on one sales call ever. I don't talk to customers across any of my organizations. I know it sounds horrible. Not that I wouldn't. I mean, do you think I'm afraid to talk to someone, Devin? I'll talk to anyone, right? But there's no reason to.
Yeah. Guys, well, listen, we're up at the hour, man. Again, probably a call you want to replay. Go to the YouTube and just rewatch this, because there wasn't nothing personally and professionally that wasn't covered on this call. And one question for you, Lance. Sorry. Before we sign off, I've noticed, because I've been connected with you on Instagram. Like, how long ago did you switch that mindset of just tons of content, right? Did you recently, not too long ago, make a switch of how you brand yourself on Instagram? Because now it is all just you putting out like an Alex Hormozy type of deal, just valuable nuggets and information. What made you change that mindset, and how has it helped? Because this is important for everybody to know, because that's one of the main reasons why I brought him on here too, was because I was just bought into who he was through his content, both personally and professionally. It wasn't just about business.
So, and this is not disrespect, but I see some of these people putting out content, and I'm not being not being arrogant here. There's just a fact, right? I'm worth 10 times more than 89% of these people putting out content, right? And one day I was just sitting there laughing, and I was sitting there with Bradley and out in Vegas, and he's like, man, you got to change your content. He goes, you were like the most unheard of, true killer that I've ever seen. He's like, you're under the radar. And I sat there, me and Brad were talking. I was like, you know what, Brad, you're right. And literally me and Brad were talking, he goes, think about all the success you have. He goes, you're probably in the 1% of all the people I've ever brought on my podcast. You know, cause I showed Brad my bank account. I showed him everything I have. Like, cause that's what winners do. You show each other everything. And I just came home and I said to my team, I said, we're going all in on social media content. And literally with LB Capital, I just said, we're all in. And my team supported me. And you can see Sean's here every day with me full time. And all he does is just get content. We have another video guy full time and we have another editor full time. And well, we just produce content and it's paid dividends, right? I mean, I get anywhere between, Sean, what would you say, 7 to 10 people a day that reach out to me to be a partner in business with them. And more than that, yeah, that's on the low end. And he vets them and my EA vets them. And we look for good operators and we look for good people. I look for people that, I really look for people that want second chances. I'm a big second chance person. So I know it sounds stupid, but yeah, about 90 days ago, Devin, is when I went all in on, hey, listen, it's time for me to switch it up and go all in on social media with my own brand and let people know, hey, listen, nobody can on social media, when you look at the comments, they'll say dumb stuff and it just shows you it's the biggest circus. Cause if you just took 30 seconds and you Googled my name, you would see all the companies I've sold, everything I've done. And you're like, all right, this guy's legit. But instead people are such hate. That's what I'm saying. Stay away from social media, the circus. Don't read anything, don't care what anyone says because they only say negative things.
Yep. I remember we had another guest speaker guy, Brian Hess, and he always said, he goes, the reason why I pump out so much content is because, like you said, but he was like, your competition will start digesting your content. And every time they're watching you, they're being less productive. They're losing. Right. And I thought of that when I was just like, man, like you're just pumping it out. And your competition is watching your video. And every time they're sitting there spending minutes upon minutes digesting that, they're losing because they're not being productive.
But see, Devin, I would say the opposite to that. And I know it sounds crazy. I hope they start winning from it because there's so much business out there. I don't want my competition to lose. I want my competition to grow and win and get better because if they get better, all the bottom feeders go away. Most of your competition, if you're legit, are probably legit too. So really what you and your competition are trying to do, if you're really trying to elevate a community, is just get rid of the bottom feeders that don't have a clue to give you guys a bad reputation, a bad name. There's so many, I would never hope any of my competition, I want to see them be successful. I want to see them grow. And I hope it's a good boxing match between me and them. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart in any of my businesses. I don't think they got to lose for me to win. I think if that guy changed his mindset to that, let me give my competition some gems and they're going to see good out of him. They're going to let him come in and learn from them too. My competition lets me through the door.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I know it sounds crazy, but they do.
Yeah. No doubt. Well, Lance, thank you so much, guys. As always, follow Lance, share the call, support Lance. I mean, like I said, you're going to learn everything. Continue to learn from him as you follow him. Have an amazing day, guys, and execute. Don't just sit on this information. Execute, mastermind with each other, hold each other accountable. Thank you so much, Lance. Have an amazing day, guys.
All right. Awesome.